All right, in this lesson, we're going to look at the perfect review template and examples. And what I'm talking about is a review style post. Sometimes you'll hear us call these buying guides throughout some of these lessons. Some of you may just call them product reviews, something like that. But generally, these are your money articles in that they're going to be the ones that get you the most affiliate commissions. So the general format of this is that it's designed to provide value to the readers because you are comparing specific products that they've been searching for. So for example, they go search best gas grills into Google and they land on your page, which is a buying guide to gas grills. And so you're going to show them some of the best options they can buy. And then you're going to talk through a bunch of other educational stuff to help them be an informed buyer, different features that matter and stuff like that. And so I'm going to talk you through the whole process of what should be there, what shouldn't be there, and what features you want to have in a post like this so you maximize both your traffic and your earnings, your commissions. And then at the end, we're going to pop out of the presentation and I'm going to show you a couple of examples that do a really good job. So the first thing is make sure you're using the language that your audience speaks. You need to know the wording that they use, how they phrase things, some slang, things like that. Just because whatever that is, if it's like a really technical way of speaking, if it's very casual, whatever's normal for your audience and your target readers, that's what you need to do because they will spot an outsider very quickly. If you, just by the way you phrase things, it's clear you don't know what you're talking about. If it's a pretty specialized product or niche, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb and people are, you're going to lose some trust. Next is to review popular products. This may sound obvious, but you can send people over to Amazon to buy products. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy. You only make commission when they buy, and so you can increase the chances of that happening by featuring the products that are the best sellers, products that have tons of reviews, and most of them are 4-star and above reviews, as opposed to a product that maybe is sold by a third-party seller, so it costs more for shipping and maybe it has no reviews or one review. The conversion on a product like that is going to be much lower. And so think about the products you're including and really do your research about what's going to be inside of your buying guide. And then, including the features for each product you review, giving some more information about what people should consider as far as features, and then ultimately having a wrap up and a summary of their best options is sort of the template to follow. So let's dive into each aspect of this. First, knowing your audience. If you can speak the language, you're more likely to appeal to your readers. So remember, you're not writing a paper for school. This isn't a term paper. This isn't a college essay. One way I like to do this, if you are not, in the weeds and really a part of the niche that you're writing to, is to go out to forums. There are forums and discussion groups on just about every topic you can think of, and read through some of those to sort of hear the questions people are asking, hear the words and the language that they're using, and that can ultimately help you get the right mindset for when you go to write a really good buying piece to that audience. And then you want to shoot for writing at about a 9th grade level. That may sound like you're insulting someone's intelligence, but you're really not. You want it to be something that's easily consumable. It's not too technical speaking, it's not like above their head. Something that just flows well, it's easy to read. So a 9th grade reading level, and there's some free tools where you can check that, but that's sort of where you want to be. When it comes to writing product reviews, you don't want to oversell any product. You want to think about not being a used car salesman, which nobody likes. You want to be more like a teacher, an educator, because ultimately you want to be impartial here. You want to give people the research. You want to make it clear that there are no perfect products. I mean, every product has the good and the bad. I mean, some obviously are better than others, but overselling and making every product sound like you can't live without it is a surefire way to lose the trust of your audience. And so for a lot of people, that'll be an instant turn off, and they're like, okay, this guy's just trying to sell me something, and they move on. But if you have an impartial tone about you from the beginning, people will really start to give you some trust and believe that you know what you're talking about and read on and learn more. So you want them to feel more educated by the time they get done reading your post, not like they've been oversold by a car salesman. So using familiar products, products that have a lot of reviews, a lot of information out there, These are good trust signals as well for your audience. It also makes your job of researching the product, assuming you don't own it or you've never actually used it yourself, doing that research on their behalf becomes a lot easier when there are a lot of videos and reviews for you to take a look at during the process. So continuing that on, when you are writing about a product, remember, don't just put the list of features. You want to tie the features to the benefits, and this is sales 101, but it's really helpful when you're writing this. So the example we have here is, don't just say it has a 40-foot long cord. Instead, you might say something like it has a 40-foot cord, which means you can clean the whole room, or which is 10 feet longer than every other option, which only have a 30-foot cord. Something like that, where you're tying it back to why this matters. Next is playing by the rules, and this is important, especially if we're talking about Amazon, who can be really stringent on affiliates as far as abiding by their rules and their terms of service. So you don't want to quote reviewers from Amazon or anywhere else, really. You don't want to list prices, especially from Amazon. So unless you are using a tool like Table Labs or a plugin that is pulling in that pricing information via the API, you don't want to just write in your article and say, hey, it's on sale for $19, because a week from now that may not be true. And so Amazon really frowns on that, so just don't do it. And then don't steal images from other reviewers or from Google image searches, places you're not allowed to take images. You can get product images from Amazon the right way using plugins like AMZ Images, which is a tool that Spencer created, or even other plugins like TablePress that I mentioned, things like that will pull the images in based on the rules. All right, so the final slide before we take a look at a couple of examples is just going to go over what you should be doing in terms of features and considerations. I usually call this the educational section of my review post or my buying guide, and I think this is perhaps the most important part that you're going to write, because it's really where you earn trust from your reader. It's where you kind of make or break whether or not they leave your article ready to make a decision, and you can do that by providing them fair, unbiased, solid information that tells them, what kind of features could you live without, what things really matter the most, what's the most important. So things like, should I get corded versus cordless? Should I do wood or aluminum, steel versus polymer, different materials, things like that. Battery operated versus electric, those sorts of questions you can dive into here. Figuring out what questions they're asking, so you can look at the questions on the Amazon product page. There's like a Q&A section. Also, answerthepublic.com, you can go type in the name of the product and see what questions pop up. Ahrefs has a questions feature where you can go into their keyword module, type in the product, and see what questions pop up. So all of these ways are just a good way to do almost like an FAQ style section in your article, where you address some of these common questions in a general way. And then wrap up with your recommendations. So at the very end of your post, after you've gone through all of this, you say, hey, here's my top pick and why. But if that's too expensive for you, here's a really good budget option. Give them some alternatives. So it's not just this is the only one that's any good at all, because that's usually not the case. There's usually multiple products that would be just fine. And then you can also link over to other related articles. If you need some more information, here's our dedicated review on this particular product, something along those lines. So you really want to just give it a nice tight wrap at the end and say, here's what to do next. Go buy it here, or if you don't like that one, go buy this one. Have a great day. Right? So with that said, let's jump out of the presentation. I'm going to show you a couple of really good buying guide, product review style posts that you can sort of emulate and take a look at. All right, the first one that we're looking at is on the wirecutter.com. This is a big brand, and this is really what they do, is review products, and they do just super in-depth stuff, and there's a lot to like about what they do. And now they have a full-time staff and like all kinds of people writing for it. So if you're a one-man show, it's very hard to emulate the level of quality and depth that the Wirecutter does. However, there are things you can learn from. This is just an example. This is their article about the best drones. And notice they've got this section. This is on their top choice here. And they've got a little subsection for flaws but not deal breakers. And remember what I said, that no product is perfect. Don't make it sound like even your top choice is flawless. You can point out some of the common complaints. Hey, it's a really solid thing, but if something were to break, it might be this. That's about the only complaint you'll hear. So you can dive into some of that. But then also just the depth and the quality of what they give. They always do a great job of, and as I scroll to the top, you can see, first of all, there's just a ton of information. But usually they also have their criteria for why you should trust us, and then they'll have multiple options. Here's the budget pick. They've got the top overall. If you really want to like upgrade above their top one, you can go to this. So I mentioned having some alternatives, not just saying, hey, buy this product or you're an idiot. Instead, we like this one, but here's a good budget choice. If you want to go really premium, you could go with this one. They do a really good job of that as well. Another article that we're going to take a look at is on juicerfanatics.com. Believe it or not, they talk about juicers. So these guys do a fantastic job of speaking the language. So you can, if you read through this, which I'm not going to sit here and read you their article, they use a great job of people that are into juicing and that sort of lifestyle. They really sound like that they know what they're talking about and that they're kind of an expert in the topic. They go into talking about benefits of juicing, and then this is what I like. I talked about the importance of an education section, so they go right into what to consider and ease of use. This is super easy to read. They break it up. They talk about price, noise level, size, warranty, power, how easy is it to clean. And so these things are, the most important features to consider. So this person is really getting an education on that. And then they talk about what are the different types. So there are different styles of juicers, and they go into pros and cons, for each one, which is fantastic. They're not just telling you like, hey, this is the only kind of juicer that you can buy that's any good. It has some positives, but there's also some things that are negatives. And so all throughout this process, they're building trust. And then they've got huge call to actions at the top, of course, with this little comparison table here where they give their ratings and some price ranges and stuff like that. And then they go down and ultimately give you a little overview of all of their top choices. So just another great example of setting up the review post. So if you can write in-depth, helpful content like this, not only will you have a better chance of ranking in the search engines, you're also going to have a much better opportunity to get people over to Amazon or wherever you're trying to send them as an affiliate, and make some money because they're going to be an educated buyer who now feels prepared to make a choice. And that should ultimately be your goal with this type of content.